Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm Andrew Drake, Consulting and Proposition Director at JLT Employee Benefits, and I'm here to talk about using technology to integrate rewards, benefits and performance management. And I'm going to set myself up for a fail because I'm going to try and prove something using a piece of technology on my arm which is going to seamlessly integrate, I'm hoping. And if it doesn't, then I'll prove that sometimes it goes wrong, and if it works, then we are good to go. So just while I'm doing that, throw it out there, what does the word integration mean to people? Where do you see integration take place every day that gives you a great example of how you can pull various things together to deliver a first-class consumer or employee experience? Do you see that happening all the time, or is that kind of nirvana for you? No. Okay, and I think that's a common thing from listening to this morning, from listening to the round table. Actually, it's kind of interesting that there seems to be a general consensus that actually we've got all these different systems. Integration's a bit of a pipe dream at the moment, but we'd love it to happen. So what I've done is this morning when I was walking here from the tube, I tracked my walking on my Garmin watch. And right now it says that it's syncing that to my Garmin Connect account. And what it's done at the same time is also told me that my Strava is updated. So I've just literally done that second, so I can go into my Garmin Connect, and straight away you can see that what I did this morning, the map's not, GPS isn't great in St Pancras, so you'll have to forgive the map, but you can see straight away that my walk, I should say, is on there. If I go to my Strava, you can see that it's on there. It reckons I was running, but I wouldn't class that as a run. And I can also flick across to my Fitness Pal, and if I update that now, I can see that that's got the calorie count from that walk on it. And if I also go to my Health app on my Apple phone, you can see that it's also on there as well. And all that's happened in the time since I started talking to you, probably about 2 minutes ago. Okay, and I guess that's really where for me, that's a great example of integration and how it should work. So I'm going to come back to that in just a second. So in keeping with the theme of technology, I am using my iPhone to try and present to you today, so forgive me, it should work. I've got paper notes, so I am going old school as well. So you'll have seen these handed around at the tables today, hot off the press. You are getting the first view of these reports, and it's a piece of research that we did in conjunction with REBA. There's lots of findings in there that are fascinating for me, but I've just pulled out a few actually to help us with the rest of the session. So big thing that came out of it is a big majority of people said that they really wanted to improve the user experience. Over the next 12 months, the priorities was very much around improving user experience from a reward perspective. That 64.5% think technology will increase staff understanding of reward. I've worked in benefits and worked with lots of HR and reward professionals now for a number of years, and that seems to be a constant theme that never changes. It's always about using technology to increase that understanding. 60% have more than 3 platforms. One thing I didn't put on here actually, but it was interesting that there's about 49% of people said they were looking to introduce a new wellbeing platform shortly. So I was thinking if that 60% is now adding another one to their 3+, 37.6% of them have got multiple. So just adding another platform to an already disparate and not very integrated journey, which I thought was brilliant. And then 68.7% said user experiences as priority. And I guess for me, if I'm thinking about user experience, it's not just about does it look pretty, because most things look pretty these days from a technology perspective. It's about what does the journey feel like as an individual. And if you take me as an individual right now, what I just showed you is what I expect in terms of my integrated experience with technology. I expect to be able to walk back into my house having gone for a run. My Garmin doesn't even tell me it's doing it, it's just uploading, and before I know it, I get a notification saying that Strava's also uploaded it, and if I go onto my Strava dashboard, everyone else can see that I've just been out for a run as well, and I can see what everyone else has been doing. And that, for me, is integration and genuinely having systems speaking to each other. So where are we going? So if you think about where we are today, a lot of people will have a dashboard for their benefits provision. They will have the ability for people to log in and select their healthcare. They'll be able to select their pension contributions, some childcare vouchers. They'll probably be able to single sign on from their dashboard to things like well-being platforms, financial education, online pay slips, all of that type of stuff. But it's very much SSO driven. Okay, so really it's just hey, here's a dashboard that looks great and we love it. But if you want to go and get some more information, you can just go over here and click a button and it will single sign on you into another platform. But there's nothing up front really telling you that you should go over there. But just for a moment, let's think about some context with this. So think about the moments that your people are going through in their lives, okay? And this will make sense when we come on into the next thing in just a second. When I talk about moments, we've probably historically talked about life events when we think about benefits. So, oh, you know, I've had a life event, I've had a child, or great, you can add that child to your healthcare. Okay, well, that's fine, that's a big ticket thing for people, but there's lots of other stuff that people go through on a day-to-day basis. And if you think about some of these moments, you know, getting your first job is a moment in your life that's a pretty big deal. Getting your first promotion is a pretty big deal. Obviously, getting married is generally a positive and big deal for a lot of people. Getting divorced might be an equally as positive experience for some people. Having children, but then let's not forget that actually those children go to university, and that's a big moment in someone's life. A few weeks ago, a colleague of mine lost a parent. That's a pretty big deal in someone's life as well. And all of these things, you know, there's all these moments occurring in people's lives all of the time. And we kind of cater for the big ticket stuff which we think we should do, but what about all the stuff that perhaps we don't do to help our people and that we could be doing just to make life that little bit easier when that moment occurs, whether it would be good, bad, or anything else. You know, and there is the stuff that just happens day to day in people's lives, like going on holiday. That's a fairly, you know, what you'd call as a BAU activity if you were talking business speak, where it just kind of happens, and we can help people with some of that stuff as well. So your people are going through these moments all the way through, from the moment they join you to when they leave you, and far beyond that as well. So when we're thinking about our people, what was fascinating in listening to the session this morning is that digital transformation, 90% about the people, 10% about the technology. So if you as a business are going through a digital transformation, which apparently everyone is, I was with a life insurer the other day in Shoreditch, which is just outrageous. I never thought I'd see, but it does happen. If you're using your people and they're key to your success and going through that digital transformation, then can we use that digital journey to try and improve the lives of some of those individuals? And I'd just like to take a moment just to walk you through some of those examples. So I'm going to introduce you to some people, to some personas that we've developed, and we'll think about how it might be that we can start to help some of these. Okay. What was also interesting to me as well, by the way, on our roundtable, we were talking about the fact people are moving to much more in-the-moment appraisals and performance management. So doing away with the annual session, that was talked about in the bigger session first thing, but moving away from just once a year and thinking about what you've done 12 months ago. So actually giving people perhaps quarterly appraisals and performance reviews, and actually rewarding them or remunerating them at the point in time that they get that kind of sit down with their manager to agree. So first of all, so we've got Angela. So Angela is 28. She's been with the company for 5 years, so you could assume that perhaps joined as a graduate. Great that she's getting some performance recognition. More we talk to some companies that they wish they were better at that. Getting married next year. Love to buy a house. Good old Chancellor helped her with the stamp duty yesterday. But I want to buy a house, I want to get married. That's quite a lot of expense. I did that just a few years ago, within 12 months of each other. I'm finally recovered after that. But they like going to the gym, they like going out with friends at the weekend. There's a lot there going on, so what can we do? What's Angela going to want? If you gave her that money, what could you possibly do that's a better use? Let's say you've just sat down with her appraisal. What else could you do for her apart from just give her £1,000 as a bonus? Some free gym.
Mortgage advice.
Yeah, mortgage advice was another point there. So wouldn't it be great if Angela could access that platform, if you like, that we saw a moment ago, much like I see when I go into my Strava dashboard and I see all these things coming up going, you know, my mate's done this or whatever. Actually, I log in and I say, hey, Angela, well done. You did really well. So there are a little robot sat there somewhere in the machine working out that, you know, that it's pulling in from your performance management database the fact that Angela has just been through a performance review, that she's been recognised for being great, and that she's been given a cash bonus for that quarter that she can use. So, hey, Angela, well done. We've got some great ways to help you spend that bonus. So what do you think of these? You can put it in an ISA and save for that wedding. You can use some holiday vouchers, and we'll give you, say, £1,000 or £1,100 worth of holiday vouchers for £1,000. Or you can use it towards a 12 months gym membership. Good friend of mine, actually, an old acquaintance, Pete's in the room. And I remember a while ago we were talking, and we were just jokingly saying about sometimes at Christmas when somebody gives you a Waterstones voucher and you get to go and spend that voucher on a book for yourself rather than it going into the communal pot that just kind of disappears and you don't get any personal use out of. So just think about Angela and that £1,000, otherwise what would you do with it? You just give it to her in salary as normal, and it would come out the other side after tax and NI, and it would just go into the bank and it would be forgotten about, and it would just get spent on groceries or bills or into a savings account or something. But actually, if you integrate the journey and you say to Angela, we know who you are, we recognise that you're going through some stuff right now, and here's some stuff that we can give you that probably means a little bit more than just paying you the cash up front. That stuff, she'll remember that more, those three things there, potentially, than she will remember the fact that she just got that bonus after tax and NI. There's a lot of research done, particularly with reward and recognition platforms, around the recognition piece. They remember the experience more than they remember the cash. So if you enhance that experience, you will give people more to remember you for as a company. And if you think about this employee that's going through this moment, then they will remember that a lot more than they would have done otherwise. Okay, Michael's 35 and started working for you last year. First child 6 months ago. She hasn't gone back to work yet. Not sure it makes sense because of the cost of childcare. But even if she does go back to work and just brings in a couple of £100 a month, that makes a massive difference to their family situation. So they bought the house. Cost of nappy. So basically, right, this is just, if you could put my face here. I didn't plant the stage there, but it's actually worked quite well. So if you could put me there, that's not a million. My daughter's not 6 months old, but not a million miles away from it. But I am interested in the cost of nappies and the cost of all the toys that we need to buy. So what could you give Michael? Instead of giving Michael £1,000 in his salary, potentially what would you give him instead? Yeah. Yeah, so childcare vouchers would be a good one. Anything else? If you were Michael, you know, if you are in the room and you think, blimey, Michael sounds a lot like me, what would you like instead of just £1,000? Or would you just take the £1,000 in your gross? A holiday? Have you taken a baby on a plane? Are you mad? Some retail vouchers, some kiddie care. Okay, great. So there's loads of good stuff, right, that you could give Michael. But what you really need is a piece of technology that when Michael gets that voucher, what he gets is a little message going, hey, Michael, how's your little boy? Right, I've got a girl, whatever, but, you know, growing fast, I'm sure. Well on your appraisal, we've got some great ways to spend that money. And straight away, the experience when they come in is pulling that journey from different places to say, actually, your benefits portal gives you some childcare vouchers. So that's, you can go and use that and sacrifice some of that money to go and buy some childcare vouchers. Well done, you save tax and NI. You get lots more for your money there. Perhaps we're going to help you set up a child ISA. Or maybe just an ISA to put some money away. It doesn't have to be a child one. Or actually, because we've got a great discounts portal, we've got some discount vouchers you can use at Mothercare. Is that a better experience than just here, Michael, here's £1,000? I never said I was going to answer that question. It's a good point, but this is about the integration. So if you've got genuine... So it's all about the capability of the systems, basically. If they can genuinely speak to each other. So one of the things that came up on our round table was that we have all these systems, but none of them talk to each other, and none of them seem to be capable of talking to each other, and we've ended up with lots of disparate systems. But a lot of the, particularly in 2017, 2018, my point when I come back at the end really was about you should really only be using the software and the systems that have got the capability to talk to each other. All they're doing, you think about Garmin Connect and Strava, all they're doing is sending messages to each other, and they've managed to nail that fairly quickly, and it's a great user experience. So if Garmin Connect and Strava can do it, that means software and technology can speak to each other. But you just need to have a piece of software that's capable of doing it.
There's a level of trust needed here, though, isn't there? Because,
there is.
Particularly for employees to give so much personal information and trust.
There is. GDPR on the horizon, big deal. The employee owns their own data. But again, if you think about this as you build the journey, there is a kind of, this is where compliance people earn their money, of course. But as long as there's consent on the individual to pass that data and that it's used in an appropriate and a relevant way, then it's okay. But ultimately, they have to sign up. But somebody on our table said, my credit card details are in 20 different websites because it makes it easier for me to shop. Well, that's fine because they've given consent for their credit card details to be in there, and therefore their journey's better for it. But if they don't want to do that, that's fine. They can opt out. But one of the other points that came through was if the journey is great and is seamless and you can see the benefits of that journey, you're more likely to give your data to it. If you think you're just giving up data because somebody's going to sell it and make money out of you, you're less likely to. But if you start to get this kind of experience, I'd buy that experience. I'd be up for that if somebody could say to me, look, well done, you've got a bonus. I'm going to remember that bonus much more this way than I would any other. And let's just go one final one. So Susie, so I've gone too far. I knew it would let me down eventually, the technology. Forgive me. Okay. So we've got Susie. Susie's 52. She's worked with us for 15 years. Child's just gone off to uni, the last of the three. So I had to geek from some of this in. But the mortgage is gone. That's great. They've funded some of the university fees. They haven't got any retirement savings right now. But her dad's not very well either. And that's actually a pretty big deal in her life. And she might not share that with you, but her dad's not very well. And coming back to the moments that people go through, you don't always recognise some of them. So what might we do for Susie? Sorry? Oh, you have, haven't you? Good point. I went on too far. Forget you've seen the answers. Let's pretend that didn't happen and I didn't scroll on too fast.
Sabbatical.
The sabbatical, okay, that's a great idea. Let me give you the answers. But if you think about Susie and what she's going through, so I knew technology was going to let me down today. So clearly retirement savings is important. Early to mid-50s, starting to get closer to that point in time where you're going to need to retire. So people are going to be worried about that. We said on the previous screen she could do with a break. So give her some vouchers to go on holiday and have a bit of time away. How much would she value you as the employer if you are the people saying to her, go and have that break that you so desperately need, or even use it to fund that sabbatical? And actually, sabbaticals have been around for a while now, and lots of companies have maybe thought about it and never quite nailed it. But I've seen a couple of examples of companies that have introduced that kind of idea. The big obstruction, of course, is people going, well, I don't want to be without salary for 2 months because I can't afford it. So a couple of options. Either you let them spread the cost of it over 12 months instead of just having 2 months unpaid. That's fairly simple to do. Same principle as buying holiday, but just bigger volumes. Or you give them that lump sum to say, look, you've done a great job, you've worked hard, go and have a month off, recharge the batteries, and here's £1,000 that we're going to give you for that month that you're not here, because we don't want you to have a complete drop in your salary. I'm doing pretty well on time as well. Okay, so I guess in summary, just to come back, what's all this about? I think, much like at the beginning, your employees will have that perfect and seamless journey in so much of the stuff that they're doing every single day. And I keep coming back to Garmin Connect and Strava and others because it gives me that amazing, seamless experience that makes life really easy for me. Now, I know, because I've listened to enough people tell me about the systems they have in place, that some of that idea around rewarding people and giving people their bonus is some way away, and we'd all love to be able to do it tomorrow, but it's not possible. What I would say to you is when you're coming across all your challenges with your data and your systems and everything else, you shouldn't be accepting anything less than a system that has the capability to talk to other systems and other pieces of tech in the future. Because unfortunately, all you're going to do is you're going to hinder your ability further down the line to create that perfect consumer-grade, seamless experience for your people. With about a minute to go, any questions or thoughts from anybody?
There are a couple of questions on Slido.
Okay.
I think everyone's taking the connectivity correctly, but there are concerns about data security and whether apps will be that secure for clients.
So I can't speak for every app that's in existence, clearly. The world is tightening up without any doubt whatsoever. We see this all the time with our clients anyway. Pretty much every client that we talk to now has an extremely robust security questionnaire or security policy document that we'd be working through. I think there's a lot of software out there, regardless of whether it's in the HR reward space or anything else, that they won't be in existence for very long if they're not very secure and they're not watertight. You may have seen even in the news yesterday, Uber in trouble again because of a hack. They got hacked and didn't report it, and now it's come to light they got hacked. So all that stuff is hugely damaging reputationally if you're not watertight, and I just don't think businesses will survive for very long if they're not secure and they're not tight on their data protection.
And there's one more question. I've got time for one more, which I think is the top one, because you're talking about connectivity. So how do you manage situations where different systems or providers duplicate on services?
Question why you're using both of them. It's the first thing. Why are you still using both if they're duplicating what they're doing? It's just waste of money, waste of effort. So I think that's my first thing. Just challenge yourself while you're using both of them. If you can, we'd always encourage best of breed. You know, for us, it's about having the right systems. You know, some people refer to it as an ecosystem. Have the right platforms within your ecosystem and make sure they've all got a defined purpose. And if they haven't, don't have them anymore, and use the things that will ultimately deliver what you want. Why would you accept duplicate? If I'm walking around with 2 watches on, what a prat saying this. But that's a very good point, right? This Garmin is a fantastic running watch, okay? Apple Watch is a gimmick, and it's good fun, but the Garmin won't do what this does. In fact, today, if I wasn't trying to show you what I was trying to show you, I wouldn't be wearing both. I'd be wearing my Apple Watch, and this would be safe just for when I'm running. But if I felt there was crossover, I wouldn't buy both. And if I got to the point where I felt they had crossover, one would be flogged on eBay. So why would you not take that same philosophy into your business lifestyles?
Thank you. And on that note, we have to close this session.
Thank you very much.